So the concept of MRSA, the concept of superbug came into the developed country, and they were telling that it was being supplied from the developing country like subcontinents, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Bangladesh, India. But the problem is what they were mentioning is the irrational use of antibiotics, and hence probably due to the mechanism of conjugation, these kind of drug resistance happens, and these resistant genes of those bacteria are transmitted. Judicious use of antibiotics is required. Nowadays, we are relying on the prevention. Obviously, we are supporting definitive treatment where you can diagnose, you can confirm it with culture sensitivity, and you can select a specific drug. But whenever we are talking about a prophylaxis, we are actually keeping ourselves in a safe zone. We are giving some kind of preventive medications, uh, either once monthly or in some cases once weekly, to prevent some kind of infections. As I have mentioned that uh, people, the healthcare workers right now are taking hydroxychloroquine to prevent coronavirus infection. Similarly, you will see benzathine penicillin, which is given as a prophylactic drug in case of rheumatic fever to prevent uh, the involvement of mitral valves or the heart valves. Even it may lead to acute glomerulonephritis later on. Uh, Isoniazid alone or isoniazid with rifampicin can be prescribed to prevent tuberculosis. It is given in a child where the mother is having tuberculosis infection, just to prevent the uh, just to prevent that person is not infected with the tubercular bacilli. Cotrimoxazole, which is again coming in the market after a long gap. Initially, it was out because of the chance of drug resistance. So, how will we approach a case of infection? We can suspect infection at the very beginning. Then, if it's possible, you have to take culture from the suspected sites. We'll go for gram stain for identification. If gram stain is not sufficient, then you may go for, you may give it for other stainings like acid fast staining. And before doing gram staining, you can start empiric therapy. It is all depending on the clinical situation. So this part, whether the drug should be given before this is one example where you will see that there's one red line coming from the top, and ultimately it's reaching the baseline. And if you draw some perpendicular lines and the horizontal lines, you will get the area under the curve. While the same drug is prescribed 3 times a day, and you see the multiple peaks. The peak is not as big as the first one, but the total area covered, if you add the 3, the first one, the second one, and the third one, maybe a little bit lesser than the first one. Why am I comparing this? Because this is a hypothetical patient. A dose of aminoglycoside antibiotic is administered. As I have discussed that this aminoglycoside is basically a concentration dependent antibiotic, and it is having long post-antibiotic effect. That means even if it is not in the concentration, plasma concentration, still its action is persisting. And more importantly, now you have to know that it is a toxic drug. So the toxicity I have not mentioned related to antibiotics, but it is one of the major concern for all clinicians. So when you are prescribing, it is depicted by a red line. A single bolus red line is basically showing a single dose of aminoglycoside antibiotic. Whereas these blue lines or the purple lines, which are given at an interval of 8 hours, 8, 16 and 24. These lines are such that the total drug administered becomes same in both the cases. So the first dose is a kind of bolus dose, whereas the rest of the 3 doses is basically the divided dose. Now here we are considering both therapeutic effectiveness and its toxicity. The threshold for toxicity is depicted by these dotted lines. This is the one which is at the level of around 2 to 3 microgram per milliliter, and the maximum recommended dose for prolonged exposure of the patient. And you see both the red lines and the blue lines are kept over these dotted lines. Now this single dose regimen produces a higher plasma level than the regimen given every 8 hours. The higher peak provides efficacy. This peak is higher, so it will provide efficacy that otherwise might be compromised due to prolonged subthreshold concentrations later in the dosing interval, or that is provided by the lower peak levels achieved with the regimen every 8 hours. The once daily regimen also provides a 13-hour period during which the plasma concentrations are below the threshold level. So you are getting 13 hours. Whereas in case of 8-hour regimen, you see, in contrast, it provides only 3 short periods in 24 hours, during which plasma concentrations are below the threshold for toxicity. It is never, in case of blue line, is never coming down to below this line for a long interval. Whereas in case of the red one, it is coming below this dotted line for a prolonged time period, because it's a once daily dose and this point is around 12 to 13 hours. So after that, for another 12 hours, this one is remaining below this dotted line, which indicates that single high dose with extended interval is preferred for these kind of aminoglycoside like drug, where there is prolonged post antibiotic effect, and which is basically a concentration dependent antibiotic. There will be few exceptions, like during pregnancy, in neonates, etc. You cannot prescribe these drugs, so that is another question. But if you have to select a drug who is probably a little bit compromised in the renal function, or if you are suspecting toxicity, or you want to provide low toxicity with equal efficacy, if not more efficacy with aminoglycosides, you will always prescribe aminoglycoside as a single bolus dose. There is one exception. That exception is infective endocarditis, where probably we are preferring these purple color, that means 3 times daily regime of the same group of drug due to some other reasons. But that you can forget. You always remember, for aminoglycosides, for concentration dependent drug, for the drug which is having prolonged antibiotic effect, you will prefer single dose regimen. Now let's come to different toxic effect which can be seen with antibiotics. So most of the antibiotics will definitely show you different kinds of adverse drug reactions. As the side effect is an obsolete term, I am preferring to skip it for the moment, and I am trying to keep the term adverse drug reaction for all antibiotics. So it's not possible to discuss all adverse drug reactions here, but remember few of the important ones. The first one is the nephrotoxicity and the ototoxicity, which can be caused by these group of antibiotics called aminoglycosides. So they are having common toxicities. All the drugs belonging to aminoglycoside, gentamicin, streptomycin, amikacin, they are having these properties. They are having 2 common toxicities, ototoxicity and nephrotoxicity. The second one, which is extremely important, all kinds of hypersensitivity reaction, type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4, can be shown by one drug, and that drug is the most important drug probably in terms of prescribing antibiotics in a clinical situation, and that antibiotic is penicillin. So penicillin can show all 4 types of hypersensitivity reaction. Next comes the one which is probably going to be more important in this regard of discussing introductory chapter on antibiotics, and that is superinfection. By the term superinfection, we mean that our native indigenous bacterial flora present in the GIT and oral cavity, which provides resistance to colonization and limits the growth of other pathogenic flora. Antibiotic therapy, it basically reduces this flora, allowing invasion by opportunistic organisms such as Clostridium difficile, Proteus, resistant Staphylococci, Pseudomonas, and it leads to superinfection. If the superinfection is due to Clostridium difficile or Candida, it leads to more serious and leads to pseudomembranous colitis. How will you diagnose that? If a person is getting antibiotic like clindamycin or even tetracycline, you can see a chance of having bloody diarrhea, and then you may suspect a case of pseudomembranous colitis.